1 p.m., so it's time to do business. 55 minutes of business is what we'll normally do here on Business Incorporated. And for today, yes, what's coming your way? In Egypt, the mining portal will be open by the end of this year to make mining and trade easy. And Kenya debt servicing is huge for the month of July. We see that it's hit $533 million. Ethiopia is working with the United Arab Emirates on currency swap to make trade easier for both countries. Good afternoon. This is Business Incorporated. I'm Ini John Mekwa. We start from the global space. Oil prices were steady in early Asian trade on Wednesday, with global benchmark Brent hovering near the one-month low that it hit in the prior session. As signs of weakening demand growth in China clashed with prospects of declining U.S. oil stockpiles. We're looking at the numbers right there. We see that Brent fell by 11 cents, that's 0.1% to $83.62 a barrel. And U.S. West Texas Intermediate also was lower at $80. It lost 0.1% also. That's also about 11 cents. We move to metals now. Gold prices continue to notch new records on Wednesday. And that's lifted by increasing conviction that the Federal Reserve will cut interest rates in September following comments from Fed Chair Jerome Powell. Spot gold price was up 0.5%, $2,482.29 per ounce, hitting an all-time high. That's according to LSEG. Gold futures climbed $2,478.04 an ounce. On Monday, Powell had said that the Fed won't wait for inflation to reach the central bank's 2% target before it begins cutting. And due to the delay in policy effect, they said that the Fed is looking for greater confidence that inflation will return to 2% level. The monthly inflation rate dipped in June, the first time in over 4 years, and that has given market watchers confidence, according to the CME, that traders are convinced that the Fed will cut rates by September as interest rates will fall. Gold tends to become more appealing compared to fixed income assets. Yesterday was historic for Nigeria as the country launched the preferential trade as part of the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area, AfCFTA. President Bola Tinubu lauded that movement. He was represented there by Senator George Akume, Secretary to the federal government, or the government of the Federation of Nigeria. There was a ribbon-cutting ceremony, and it took place in Apapa Port in Lagos.
They say the major sustainable path to economic prosperity is through trade, and with Africa's share of global trade at less than 4%, the Africa Continental Free Trade Area was birthed. About 4 years after ratification, the inaugural shipment under the Guided Trade Initiative is launched.
Today marks the culmination of efforts which began a little over 5 years ago with the official signing of the AfCFTA agreement in Niamey, Niger.
As Nigeria finally implements trade under AfCFTA, the federal government pledges to create an enabling environment to allow production for exports.
We will create an enabling environment that supports businesses, encourages innovation, and fosters competitiveness. We work closely with our continental partners to ensure that the benefits of AfCFTA are equitably distributed and that no one is left behind.
The launch of the GTI in Nigeria further highlights the commitment of this administration, led by His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, towards boosting economic integration, regional cooperation, and the transformational power of trade. Let me use this opportunity to recognize and appreciate the efforts of everyone who worked tirelessly and contributed towards the development and implementation of this initiative.
With about 11 exporters ready to ship goods to places like Kenya, Uganda, and others, AfCFTA certificates are handed to them. Stakeholders are optimistic about this moment, but concerns about currency still remains. What will Africa trade with?
If I'm selling something to Uganda, the buyer there pays in Ugandan currency, and then it is transcribed, given to me in Naira. So we're not using dollars at all.
First, this is a remarkable day for us that we are witnessing the inaugural shipment under the initiative, and that Nigeria has been enlisted as those pioneer countries that will drive continental trade. However, what is needed is for us to now ensure that we engage in this continental market in a beneficial manner.
As more exporters keen to AfCFTA, it is expected Africa's trade volume will rise, but this also depends on provision of an enabling environment for production in Africa.
Well, we did hear the Director General of Manufacturers Association of Nigeria speaking there. One of the manufacturers there yesterday was the Chief Executive Officer and Managing Director of Coleman Cables and Wire, Mr. Nofo. He was a guest this morning, I guess, feeding on all of that, the prospect with AfCFTA, looking forward to expectations for the second half of the year. That's what he discussed with Laddie Williams earlier today.
GDP figures overall has come down. 3.5 at the beginning of the year, first quarter, second quarter, we're 2.98. So invariably, the stats are literally against the word called manufacturing. So if you now look at the overall bottom line, listening to all those stats year in, year out, doing a comparative analysis, there's nothing else we can say that the knocks have been bad. The situation has been bad. But the question is, what are the learning curves from the first half of that year? And what are we supposed to do next as a whole? And I think not only as manufacturers, government, and every institution put together in trying to turn the tides. And I think that's the key thing going forward. Is everybody knew the first half of the year. Sure, the whole of 2024 is going to be tough. Turnovers are going up. Of course, it's going to go up. Why would it go up? Inflation is rising. Inflation has gone up. Naira has devalued. Of course, your turnover goes up.
So don't be too excited about it.
Don't be too excited. I think we should all ignore everybody's turnover today. Because I always say, look, turnover is only a figure on your books. It's not profit. It's not increase. It can be just a figure.
Well, talking about GDP figures there that Mr. Nofo referred to, we turn our eyes to the real estate sector construction. We saw that sector also dropped. The real estate sector, there was a 0.5% drop year on year for the first quarter of this year. What that implies, obviously, is the threat to investment into that sector. And of course, the housing gap growing even wider. But let's delve into this. I'm sure there are ways we can make lemonade out of lime from this. With Dr. Segun Oshundairo, is the Managing Director of ArcView Investments Limited. Dr. Oshundairo, thank you so much and good afternoon.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so I mean, they say necessity, basic necessities of life. Yes. First, you have food. No question about that. Yeah. And then you have clothing, and then you have
shelter,
housing.
Yeah,
housing. But we've seen it become like more difficult to get what they call budget housing, a low-income house, a low-cost. Affordable yes. is the professional word to use. Yes. But we've had a lot of low-income housing plans by governments, yes. by private sector. But yes. when you check the low-income, it's not really low income, and it seems yes. it's becoming even more difficult.
The gap is now so wide between the poor and the rich. Then it used to be housing for the low income earners, for the middle income earners, and for the high-income earners or the elite. But now the middle-income earners has been fully raised. So it's either you are trying to get something down, way down, or you are, getting the elite. They are, so the gap is so wide. Now, as an industry, we now depend more on the diasporans, from Nigerians out abroad, now buying into our property business. So the government needs to look into the economy and see how to manage it well, because prices of building materials are on the rise every day.
So before you get into that, Dr. Shinayo, when you say and it's not just about the real estate now that the middle class is being erased. I like to be practical, and you say it's either you're in the low income or the high end of it. What is low income? Is low income a 1-bedroom flat? Is it a 2-bedroom? Is it I better pass my neighbor?
Yes, okay. Let me explain and break it down for you. Then it used to be you have a mini flat, a 2-bedroom, and a 3-bedroom.
That used to be middle class or low.
So you can categorize it. Then it used to be for the low income, you have the mini flats, like a room apartment. Then you have a 2-bedroom for the middle income earners, and you have a 3-bedroom and duplexes for the high income earners and the elite. But now, with the economic situation, the 2-bed and the 3-bed has been fully erased off.
So, okay, because the prices are now higher, the low income or the middle class cannot afford it. Has it gone to the elite?
So now the middle income earners can only afford the mini flats. Why the elite and the high income earners can only either go, they can afford to buy in the luxurious environment, maybe in the Lekki axis and but when you check most of the houses being built now, developers are doing more of the mini flats, apartments, and that's what is even available, affordable for the people. Now those who are we call them the low income earners, they are out of the scheme completely. Now they're
falling to the low income, I believe.
They can't even afford a place for themselves. What they now do is just to either move down to the outskirts of. They can't afford anything within the metropolis in Lagos. You see how they go down to Ogun State, moving down to Ekiti State, moving down to Osun State to get a piece of land and build maybe just a room and be managing themselves there.
But Dr. Shinayo, we cannot have this conversation outside of the bigger economy.
Yes.
Because the truth is the macroeconomic indices are not friendly at this time, and we cannot expect that the real estate sector will be exempted from the squeeze that's going on.
Yes.
So obviously, construction materials are now, I remember some time ago, we were talking about cement. Can we have cement for 20,000 and things like that? But there are also conversations around, can we look at alternative materials that perhaps could make it easier for the former middle income, now low income, to be able to do something for themselves?
You see, our governments, they have a major role to play in this. God has so much blessed Nigeria with all mineral resources. When it comes to building of houses, you have everything. Ogun State, you have you have even the limestone, you have the granite, the sharp sand, everything. But they need to see how to partner with the developers. 90% of houses built in Nigeria are built by developers. So they need to go into the strategy being adopted in building First Tax 77. Strategies being adopted by the Jakonde era in building about 16 housing estates within 4 years. Which, what they did was to harness all these materials, all these resources. We have them available. Now calling the developers who are doing this job every day and see how to partner with them and see how to make all the materials, talking about resources, available. They should build a platform whereby these materials will be, easy to access.
Yeah, but we also have to remember that these materials, yes, we do have them,
yes,
but they have to go through a value-adding process before it can be used. Perhaps that's where the conversation should start from, or the partnership should start from.
Yes, you see, value-adding, you see, our government, they have all the resources within, and they have the resources, we have the technical know-how, they have the resources. It's now to sit with, with the players and see how to provide solutions into providing affordable housing. The template that Babajide Akonde used is still available. Though someone might say, oh, the prices of maybe building materials then was a bit low, but...
And the taste too. The taste has also changed.
But it can still be replicated. I remember then our parents got, we talk about getting a unit with just about 3 naira then, and you can spread your payment for about 30 years. That is still available. Now, okay, how much am I buying this house? How much are we delivering this house? Okay, for example, 10 million naira. There should be a mortgage system, a working mortgage system, whereby it will be fully funded by the government. We have Federal Mortgage Bank, but Federal Mortgage Bank is not, we can't even say any. I've been in this industry for about 16 years. We've not been able to conclude any of this, So it should be seamless.
But we have a lot of interesting looking policies, from the federal government that's supposed to engage or connect house owners or house ownership with the Federal Mortgage Bank, at least through the primary mortgage bank.
All the process must be seamless. Talking about the Nigerians, they are ready to, what they need to do is to get their equity contribution, which is possibly maybe about 10% of the total value.
It's about 30%.
About 30%. Now that can, I remember when the former governor Fashola was the minister for housing. He was able to beat, down that and he said 5 million naira interest free if you're buying a house. But
I guess
but it's no longer available
Lagos,
now. But that is no longer available now. But they should find a way to take out the bottlenecks. Taking out all the challenges, all the roadblocks, all the loopholes, and because so much needs to be looked into the housing sector, because this is possible. We do that every day. We build every day. We have all the workers working every day.
The liquidity is not that it's not that free now, even from the government aspect.
Now, if you are paying for 30 years, you're going to, there's all what is interest, which will be added. All this applies in the Western world, and they are still in operation. You can own, a house of your own and spread the payment for 30 years. And the interest will surely be there to pay. And that is one of the easiest ways to provide homes for everybody. Now, the 1978 Land Use Act must be looked into. We are still using an act that was enacted about 46 years ago, and which is still in operation. That should be, you should break it down. They should dissect it and take out the good parts and discard the obsolete parts and see how to prove. You see, it's not rocket science. It is possible. This is what we do every day.
Who is supposed to lead this
conversation?
Who is supposed to coordinate it?
Well, we have the Ministry of Housing. The Ministry of Housing can call, a town hall meeting and bring all the developers, together and see how can we provide affordable homes for the good people of Nigeria, which is possible.
The town hall meeting is where we should start. We'll see if that idea flies.
Yes, it is possible.
Thank you so much, Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of AfCFTA Investments Limited, Dr. Segun Osundairo.
Thank you for having me. My pleasure.
All right, let's take a break now. When we come back, we'll head to the markets with Will Ibong. Welcome back. Still watching Business Incorporated right here on Channels Television. We'll head to the markets now and see what news Will Ibon comes with.
I've got good news for the markets.
I think first you owe me an apology.
Oh, well, the market does owe you an apology because the market did tell me yesterday that it was, it was
this is
volatile.
trying to be smart.
So I did,
so yesterday you told me I was dreaming when I told you we're going to hit 100 and close with 100, and you told me I can only do that in my dreams.
But everything starts with a dream.
In your reality, Will Ibong, at 10 p.m. during the stock market report, you reported that the market closed at over 100,000 in the green, and I heard the sound from the boom.
Admit, but the market is volatile, and it always starts with a dream. You have to dream to make it a reality.
So what do you dream of today, Will?
Well, I dream of...
Since you're a politician or in business.
You got me there. Well, let's just check out other markets now and see how they performed at intraday. Major equities in Africa, I mean, sentiments were mostly positive. Nigeria's NGX was trading up by 0.1% at intraday. We see that 100K level sustaining that level it regained yesterday, Tuesday. And South Africa's South Africa's GSC was down at intraday 0.42%. Now, elsewhere, we see Egypt's EGX30 jumping at intraday up by 1.66%. And this was lifted by gains across all sectors. Meanwhile, Kenya's stock market also closed Tuesday's trading session in positive territory. That's 3 days of positivity for that exchange. But let's cast an eagle eye on intraday activities at the NGX. Let's bring in Ambrose Omodion, Chief Research Officer, Invest Data Consulting, to join us and give us this breakdown of what's happening. There's big news on UKAP, but he's here to give us more insights. Ambrose, it's good to talk to you. What stocks are driving intraday numbers? Before we go to UKAP, just tell us what's driving this positive trend that we're seeing at intraday.
No, it's a good news that we are seeing the life of Julius Berger in the green, Onwando in the green, Africa Prudential and the UKAP in the green, also followed by UBA. That these stocks are mixed. I can see that some are in banking sector, some are also in construction, IT, and all. That is that the market is already preparing for any season, which any moment from now. We have seen some of them dropping in the market small. I believe that going to the future, to the new week, we're going to see more results that will give us the where market is going.
So how should investors, like we've seen UKAP now, let's just go straight to UKAP. Investors seeing that number, very good half-year earnings report from UKAP, and recommended an interim dividend of 90 kobo and also a bonus of 2 for 1. Can you just shed more insights as to how UKAP arrived here?
Yeah, investors in UKAP, I think they'll be celebrating now, showing that this is that UKAP has maintained that expectation that it's one of the best managed and also run a company on the exchange. I would say that their corporate governance before now have been touched not, and you can see that also reflecting on their numbers. For this kind of fantastic number they posted for half year, for me it's a good one that they pointed at the full year also. That means if you are an investor in the UKAP, you have to also think twice whether you should sell or hold. And I tell you that this banking and capitalization is also a plus for UKAP because of they are into fundraising. So I see that what they've done before now is a result of bringing other companies to work to raise money through bond and commercial paper as reflected on their number. And now the big difference in the market, which is the bank. That means we expect to do more and see more better number for the end of the year. That means investors in UKAP that have seen this number, it's just a wake-up sign for 2024 financial year for UKAP. For me, I say kudos to the company and the management.
Okay, so how should investors be trading the earnings season now, seeing that more companies that have been used to declare interim dividends are now declaring, appear to be declaring interim dividends? How do you think investors should be trading right now?
Yeah, when you see market fundamentals changing, as a trader or investor, you also have to change your trading strategy. I believe that now we are seeing more companies coming to the find the exchange for interim dividend. It's a sign that there is a goodies for investors in the market in this second half of the year. I believe that is the right time to sit down, and most of the stock on the exchange are undervalued to start with. Then what you can look at what we call release date of this company. And thank God that most of them are giving us their board meeting on the exchange as notification. What you look at their price where it is today, and also compared to what we call in technical analysis, what we call value area. That value area, is it a breakout or what going to put down. Once that result trend before now, look at the company performance in 2023, their full year, look at their Q1, and also what is the policy around those companies or those sectors to tell you that if we're going to expect a better number. We have seen that, yes, UKAP, because the sector where it is now, you can see the performance we are seeing. Interest rates have helped UKAP to perform more because they are into that business of raising funds and all those. Probably that you as a trader now understand the policy around the government on the economy. The economy is still a bit tight. There are some sectors that are enjoying one policy or the other. Look at the sector and see this number they have put before now. To have an insight to what you expect from that and start positioning ahead of their number. If such surprise that we see now in UKAP, I moved the price almost 10% today again, continuing in other companies, that means you need to position before the result hit the market. Don't wait for the result if you're a trader. But if you're an investor that want to see the result first, but that's why you must understand what you are doing because your investment will guide you. If you're a trader, you need to be in a trade before the result hit the market. If you're an investor, you want to see the number before you buy. These are the things that investors should have in mind that don't just panic in the market, rather follow the trend of the market and to invest wisely by using numbers and using technical analysis to combine to make the decision.
Okay, let's look at your, that crystal ball, that technical analysis of yours. Inflation numbers came out, but it appears investors are ignoring it because we don't see any. After the inflation numbers, we've seen positive closing for the NGX. What's really happening? How much has the market priced in?
What you see that before now, we have seen that for 3 months, we have seen on a month-to-month basis, inflation is slowing down. And also that is the point that what will happen at the end of MPC meeting next week. Are they going to do either 25% basic or 50 or 100? Investors are already waiting. That's why in that we are seeing inflation slowing down. Even on year, we see it also hitting on new level. But on month-to-month, we are seeing a slowdown. And also on the strength of harvest and also what we call this year effect. So to see inflation start coming down. They're coming down, it's not going to pay those that are in fixed income market. Because for those that are in equity market, when you see it coming down, you're going to impact some components positively and they make more money. But those in fixed income that are already in red, once that's coming down, one will move. That's why temporal from is very, very important. For any investor, you must know where is fund moving to. As we are seeing more dividend in equity now, gradually you see fund leaving bond market or physical market to equity for now because of what the expectation of earnings and dividend as we just started the UKAP now.
So 2 days of positive close now. How do you think the market will close today? Because I need to give feedback to Ini.
Yeah, I see the market moving up again above that 100 because markets are pulled back already as we speak now on the pulse of profit taking. But I believe that before the close of today's bell, market will go back to green. Yeah.
Oh, so the market is going to close in the green. We'll watch out for that, Ambrose Omodion, Chief Research Officer, Invest Data Consulting. We got our eyes peeled on it. And hope it doesn't go to the red. Thank you so much for your insights.
Thanks for having me.
So let's look at the other major stocks in the Gulf where they were mixed at intraday as markets prepared for global interest rates to fall, while a decline in crude oil prices also weighed on sentiment. Abu Dhabi was down 0.17%. You see Dubai up, trading in opposite directions, 0.25%. And something happening in Dubai. The Abu Dhabi National Hotels is considering an initial public offering IPO for its catering businesses, ADNH Catering. However, the statement by the hospitality group did not provide any confirmation on the timing of a potential listing. Now, still within the region, we see Saudi trading in the green, 0.27%, and Qatari index in opposite direction of 0.41%. Let's look at the U.S., where the Dow futures are expected to rise on Wednesday after the 30 stock index posted its best day since June 2023. However, we see the futures drop in early trade today. We see the Dow Jones futures tied to the Dow Jones was down 0.19%. We see the futures also tied to the S&P 0.71% down, and the Nasdaq was more than 1% down in Tuesday's trading session. We see the Dow rallied more than 700 points and closed at a record while also posting its best session since June 2023. Now, small cap stocks have also seen a resurgence since last week's June inflation report, with some investors now rotating out of mega cap technology and popular artificial intelligence leaders into small caps and cyclical stocks. Now, looking ahead for later today, United Airlines, Discover Financial Services, Johnson & Johnson, and U.S. Bancorp are some of the companies set to release quarterly earnings results. Now, let's look at Asia. Stock markets in that region traded mixed on Wednesday, with Australia's index reaching an all-time high. Also, an increase in business optimism among large Japanese manufacturers lifted Japanese stocks. We see Nikkei, however, down 0.43% to close. That profit taking after setting, after hitting those highs is lower from the index, is at 41, about thereabouts. Now, South Korea's Kospi also dipped 0.8%, and the Hang Seng index in China was 0.06% up. Let's look at mainland China and see how that performed. The Shanghai index was down 0.45%, and the S&P ASX in Australia was up 0.73%. And we talk about what's happening in the UK now. We see UK's inflation holding steady at 2%. That's what we had in May, and still within the Bank of England's target of 2%, but it was above the forecast of 1.9% that they were expecting. Also, we've seen that pound rallying today against the dollar to 1.3. That's the highest they've had since in 1 year now. So I'm just thinking now maybe I should just go gather my pounds and just start trading the dollar and doing something.
I wonder where you're gathering them from.
Well, from the markets. From the markets.
Oh, okay, all right.
So Ini, the market's going to close in the green.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Will. All right, now let's head to Europe now and see their concerns have turned to the U.S. Yes, after the attempted assassination on former President and now candidate Donald Trump, there's been a lot of attention given to that now. A report published by Goldman Sachs asserts that a Trump re-election could have profound implication on Europe's economy. Top on the list, Germany. Germany is Europe's industrial powerhouse. Well, would it be positive or negative? Let's find out. Emily Lashner joins us now. Emily, which way would it swing?
Thanks for having me. Well, the economists who authored this report say the impact would stem from a few factors. Increased defense expenditures for one, as well as trade policy uncertainty and spillover effects from U.S. domestic policies on things like taxes. And they estimate that the Eurozone economy would suffer a hit of at least 150 billion euro, which is the equivalent to about 1% of the region's gross domestic product.
So how would another Trump presidency affect, could you explain especially the area of trade policy?
Well, trade tensions between the U.S. and the EU surged during Trump's last term. His administration passed tariffs on European steel and aluminum, which led the EU to counter with duties on U.S. goods. And there were months-long concerns about whether other sectors like the automobile industry would see higher tariffs. Just this concern alone rattled investors. And Trump has said that he wants to impose a 10% tariff on all U.S. imports, including those from Europe. And so this would, of course, trickle down to consumers. And the economists estimate that in 2018 and 2019, uncertainty about trade policy, which was brought on by Trump's very aggressive stance, it reduced industrial production in the Eurozone by around 2%. And that's why they named Germany, as you said, which is Europe's industrial powerhouse, why they named Germany to really bear the brunt of this impact. And the report highlighted that its industrial sector is more vulnerable to trade disruption compared to other major Eurozone economies, like France, for example. And after Germany, Italy and Finland are projected to be the second and third most affected countries because of their higher weight of manufacturing activity in their economies.
Yeah, well, it seems everything within the U.S. affects other economies and countries right there. But let's look at investors on the zone and see what they're doing this afternoon.
European markets opened a little bit lower today. The UK inflation rate held steady at 2%, which was slightly higher than expected. Still within the Bank of England's target, though, but still additional interest rate cuts are expected in August. And despite, better than expected consumer retail numbers in the U.S., a rate cut by the Federal Reserve in September seems more and more likely. But on a positive note, shares in German sportswear company Adidas rose after the company, which had been struggling for some time, announced that its operating profit would reach 1 billion euros, which was beating expectations by a lot.
All right, Emily, thank you so much for that. Well, we'll come back to the African continent, beginning with Kenya, where that country will spend $533 million. That's about 669 billion shillings, servicing external debts in July, putting a fresh strain on forex reserves, which have recently been replenished by the proceeds of a World Bank loan. Public debt data compiled by Bretton Woods shows that the biannual payments to China for the loans contracted from 2014 towards the construction of the standard gauge railway and will account for 81%, which is $433 million of the July external debt payment. January and July usually account for the lion's share of the country's annual external debt payment. That's because of the SGR loans. The remainder of July's debt payment are a mix of multilateral and bilateral lenders. Key among them are Eastern and Southern African Trade and Development Bank. They have theirs at $22.3 million. France is $18.6 million, and the World Bank at $12.9 million. In Egypt, the country is set to launch a digital platform titled Egypt Mining Portal by the end of 2024, and it's supposed to serve as a primary catalyst for mining investment and to reach data easily. This, according to the Minister of Petroleum and Mineral Resources, Karim Badawi, he made this stance during an Egypt Mining Forum, a third round, which is going on in that country. Mr. Badawi says that the ministry is also collaborating with other ministries and authorities to create attractive environment for investors in the mining sector. In addition, he notes that Egypt is rich in mineral resources as it possesses a wide variety of mineral resources like gold, silver, zinc, and platinum. According to the minister, Egypt's gold reserves approximately 7.3 million ounces, with 2023's production amounting to 560,000 ounces of gold and 17.5 million tons of other metals. The United Arab Emirates Central Bank has partnered National Bank of Ethiopia to establish a bilateral currency swap agreement aimed at enhancing financial and commercial cooperation between the two countries. The agreement will bolster the provision of liquidity in local currency, enabling an effective settlement of cross-border transactions between the Emirates and Ethiopia. And this is according to the regulators from Ethiopia. The pact allows for the exchange of their local currencies up to a specific limit. This limit is set at a nominal value of up to 3 billion of Ethiopian currency, and that's about $817 million and 46 billion Ethiopian birr. A foreign currency swap is an agreement to exchange currency between two parties in which they swap principal and interest payment on a loan made in one currency for a loan of equal value in another currency. We come to Nigeria, where leading insurance companies in the country disbursed 40.439 billion naira in claims during the first quarter of this year, compared to 33.869 billion in the same period of 2023. That reflects a growth of 19.40. The increase in claims has impacted the premium growth rate of insurance firms, with economic challenges, inflation, and fraudulent claims being significant contributing factors. Companies involved are ICO Insurance, Prestige Assurance, NEM Insurance PLC, AXA Mansard, Consolidated Hallmark Insurance PLC, Coronation Insurance, Veritas Capital Insurance, Sovereign Trust Insurance, among others. Staying in West Africa, Ghana's Cocoa Marketing Board, COCOBOD, has recorded a profit of 2.3 billion Ghana cedis. That's about $150 million in the 2022-2023 planting season. According to reports from the Ghanaian Auditor General, the profit posted in the planting season marks the end of a 6-year losing streak. The profit was occasioned by the restructuring of cocoa bills worth 7.9 billion Ghana cedis. That's about $511 million. In 2023, COCOBOD initiated a debt securities exchange program aimed at restructuring its cocoa bills. As part of this initiative, the board extended an invitation to holders of its short-term debt securities, known as cocoa bills, to voluntarily exchange them for longer-term debt securities, which feature generally lower coupon rates. Now let's head to the crypto space and see what's going on there with Laddie Williams.
Yeah.
Laddie, the numbers look better
Yes.
today. Yesterday, Bitcoin about this time was 63,000.
And it just keeps going up. And yeah, it's quite surprising, you know, at this point,
Yeah.
knowing that we were looking at sub 50,000,
Yeah.
you know, at some point.
I think
rest
the
of market
Trump
just flipped.
story did a whole lot of change. But
Yeah.
what has happened between yesterday and today? It's been just
Exactly.
about
So-
$2,000 added to
So now we're
Bitcoin.
seeing the ETFs getting a lot of inflows, you know, at this time. The last time we saw outflows, we saw Bitcoin price actually going down. So there seems to be some kind of inverse relationship.
And
you know,
then I was
between the
thinking that
outflows
all
and
attention
price.
was on the tap to earn now, and Bitcoin and Ethereum will be suffering for it. But it seems a bit of the action is still going there.
There's still some action here, even though we see everyone's expecting some kind of airdrop from one tapping game or the other. There's so many at this point. But who knows which one is actually real?
I wonder.
But people just keep tapping, you know, tap for fun and all of that. But looking at the market, it's still very, very green, with Solana actually deeper in the green at this point. Let's look at the top cryptocurrencies we track now. We see the likes of Binance Coin, $581, up 2.65%. There were 4% gains yesterday, but now we're seeing slower gains, 3.33%. That's for Bitcoin. Cardano, 44 cents, up by 3.64%. Let's look at the headlines now. Well, as I mentioned before, the Bitcoin ETFs has hit a new milestone, about $16 billion net inflows within 6 months, outperforming estimates from the likes of Bloomberg, which projected $12 to $15 billion in net inflows for the 12 months. So we're seeing an outperformance for just 6 months. Then we see Craig Wright, his Bitcoin creator, claimed there, giving him some trouble right now as an Australian computer scientist. He claimed to be the mastermind behind Bitcoin. We heard it was Satoshi Nakamoto that actually prepared the white paper, but he says it's the one. So a London High Court found him guilty of perjury to support his false claim of being Satoshi Nakamoto. So they don't believe he's the creator, but he says he's the creator of Bitcoin. Everyone's still looking for that creator at this time. Then we see the Binance executive. He was wheelchair bound last time we saw him in court. And we see the court has ordered the arrest of the Abuja prison doctor. He's accused of failing to produce the medical report on the detained executive of Binance Holdings Limited. So that story still unfolding at this time. The Binance issue still there. All right, let's move forward now. Definitely it's all about the inflows we're seeing with Bitcoin ETFs at this time. Let's bring in Rume Dominic now as the Deputy Managing Director of Aviat Industries and founder of Vorum. Great to have you in the show.
Thank you very much, Laddie, for having me. I'm grateful.
Yeah, so it looks like big money is flowing back into the ETFs. The headlines before now were the outflows, but now we're seeing the inflows, and we're seeing Bitcoin actually rising. What do you think is driving this inflows into the ETFs?
You know, the last week, about last week to 2 weeks ago, we saw the German government sell off a lot of Bitcoin. And, you know, that was one thing that actually put a lot of fear in the minds of institutional investors and retail investors, because we saw the pattern at which government can truly behave when they hold digital currencies like this or large assets. Right now, the surge in Bitcoin ETF inflow is a strong signal of a renewed institutional interest in Bitcoin, despite the fact that a lot of investors and organizations were very scared. There are several factors that are truly likely contributing to this. One is the increased regulatory clarity, the ideal portfolio diversification, and the maturing market. You know, as we are going closer to the cycle of the peak, which is 2025, the market is maturing and the bull season phase theory is kicking in. And because of this phase theory, the Bitcoin ETF inflow has also started going up because smart investors are very much aware.
So at this point, if we see inflows into the ETFs, that means Bitcoin is going to go up. And if we see outflows, that means Bitcoin is going to go down. Is that what we're seeing play out here?
Well, truly, you know, the market of Bitcoin, there's something called the market capitalization. And the market capitalization is actually the amount of people that are invested into that asset. Across every financial instrument, whenever the liquidity of an asset goes up, just as it is in the financial sector, like what we do at AfCFTA, when you have two currencies, maybe a base currency and a quote currency, and the base currency is going up, you always find an uptrend. Right now, a lot of liquidity is going into Bitcoin, and that's the reason why the base currency Bitcoin is also going up, and that is a correlation with the reason why the ETF is also, the ETF inflow increase in terms of volume is giving us that rise in Bitcoin.
So with this now, it seems we know the direction of institutional investors when it comes to Bitcoin, you know, at this time. But what do you think retail is doing at this time, or what should retail investors be doing?
Truly, retail investors right now should be doing high level of research. 2 nights ago, I was up for over 5 hours. The last night, I was up for over 5 to 6 hours as well. What was I doing? I understood that China will possibly lift their ban on crypto at this moment. And there is a possibility that because of this phase of the Bitcoin bull run that has kickstarted, just as we teach in VRM, there will be a high level of inflow of liquidity into Chinese tokens. And that will see that most of those tokens might possibly pump in this next phase of the bull run. So the retail investors should truly do their own research. They should have a long-term perspective, and they should also partner with companies that have high level of liquidity like AfCFTA, so that they can get some more money to be able to put back into their portfolio that has possibly gone down, so that they can start afresh from this new success point of the market.
All right, let's look at Craig right now. He says he's the creator of Bitcoin. At this time, we don't know who created Bitcoin. Yeah, we hear Satoshi Nakamoto, who we don't know who he is really. You know, at this point, if he's alive or whatever. But what are you seeing at this time? Do you think there's a possibility Craig Wright might actually be the creator?
The only 2 stories and facts that have been put forward that looks closely to somebody that is the creator of Bitcoin is the fact that we know that there is a pseudo entity called Satoshi Nakamoto that has about 1 million Bitcoins locked up somewhere, and that pseudo entity has gone incognito for the last 10 to 11 years plus of Bitcoin's existence. Another personality we understand is that there were a couple of people that actually came together, about 6 to 5 men that possibly some of them were in the FBI and a couple of those things, and they created Bitcoin and went silent about it. So these are just the only 2 pointers to the person that possibly created Bitcoin. Craig Wright's ongoing claim is unfounded and does not have any fact to it. So it lacks true claim, and the majority remains skeptical due to the lack of conclusive evidence and his own history of making questionable statements about this situation. So at the moment, it's still questionable, and it is important for us to leave it at that.
All right, we'll leave it at that then. So when it comes to tap to earn, we know that's still making waves at this point. Are we seeing tap to earn platforms get attention from institutional investors?
I tell you the truth, I lie not. I wish I could share my screen. I told you I was up early hours of today. I at about 4:30 a.m., there was a new tap to earn project, I think, that dropped into one of the communities. And I think that project was Woofy something, Woofy, for the purpose of non-promote. I saw it. And that project is currently trading, is already trading on the coin market cap and they introduced the tap to earn system of Telegram to be able to gain more active users into their community. And they allocated the whooping sum of $500 million to be able to, I've just confirmed that particular figure now, $500 million to be able to quickly do what? Start getting, $500,000 to be able to start getting in investors into their system. And I tell you the truth, I lie not. In the last 1 hour that they launched that thing, over 5,000 to 6,000 new users were already on their Telegram group as the tap to earn system was introduced for that cryptocurrency. So the market is using that particular style to be able to make things better for their projects.
All right, we'll definitely keep watching that segment of the crypto market. Tap to earn. Thank you so much, Roommate Dominic, Deputy Managing Director at Aviat Industries. Thank you.
I'm grateful.
All right, so there you have it.
Ladi, we need to create a tap-to-earn project.
At some point.
This is our time.
We should have some game developers in Nigeria. They should be, jumping in on this.
I'm telling you, it's just so much. And you know the way the world is, one success story births so many. Some unsuccessful stories, and that seems to be the trend.
You have some of the scams and the rug pulls.
Yeah,
definitely.
so I think people should just be careful.
But the big question now is who created Bitcoin? Could it be any?
Well,
we'll find out.
Dominic says, let's leave it at that.
Let's leave it at that.
To be safe. Well, the world is changing. Conversation's changing. Now it's tap to earn. I wonder what's coming up next. ETF and everything. But anyways, that's where we draw the curtains on Business Incorporated today. Thank you so much for being a part of it. Always a pleasure and a privilege to have you share this time with us. We'll do it again tomorrow. Ladi will be starting, of course, with Business Morning.